Many times when you see quagmire in the homes, you find this statement: men are, women are. It is a device of Satan to disenable the family. Because God never gave you women as a man. God gave you a woman. So don't say women are emotional. Don't say women are gossipers. Don't say women are so many other things. Because he didn't give you a multitude, he gave you one. Why? He knew it was needful for that one to come and keep you on course. Amen? Likewise for the women, we cannot be there saying, men do not listen, or men are irrational. If it is not from them, it will not buy the day. Now God again didn't give you men, he gave you. When that is critically identified, it becomes very easy to catch the attention of each other and divided attention to the path of where we are going, so that we can review our needs and let each other into the space that is given, and then manage then our journeying together. That's basically what I wanted to. The ordering of the living space, not only at retirement, but even before retirement, the two are involved. Then again, we need community partnership, belonging and networking. That is also critical. When we are professionally, career-wise, or ministry-wise for us, clergy, fully involved in the career pursuit, we have the partnerships with the people we work with. But at retirement, we still need partnerships. We need belonging, and we need networks. And the two of us have to be involved in creating those networks for us. Where are we going to remain active and included in the public activities and opinion expression, even if it is going to be by volunteering and pro bono? You need to belong. We must belong. So we must decide, are we city dwellers, urban settlement after we retire, or are we going to be rural? And if we are running with both, we also need to ask ourselves, how much of time are we giving to each? And what is going to be enabling our mobility? Because some of our distances between the city, Nairobi, and our rural home is massive. We may find that it may not be logically possible to be on transit consistently every week. And that will entail money, it will entail time, it will entail energy. So we must speak into it. We may need to bring on board a driver who shall be quickly running with us and enabling us. Because as we are also growing older and we need to be psychologically stable, it's not at 65, at 70, we should be always running on the wheel for 300 kilometers, 200 kilometers to and fro. We need to slow down. We need to release certain spaces at given moments. For the nearness of travel, that is okay. My husband is aware that once it comes to long distances, I made a decision a long time ago. I am not going to be the driver. And particularly where I am mentally involved and spiritually going to do ministry, I know I am in a spiritual warfare. So that acceptance of what we are involved with. So if you're having a project and you're running with it mentally, it is not wise for you to be on the steering wheel. You need to be composed. And those are certain decisions that must be made and made early enough so that we know that we need other people. Then we need community, whether it is in that rural setting where we shall be going for 1 week or 2 weeks in a month, or in the city. We need social networks that are not necessarily limited only to the family. Because to the family, which is my family and your family, you are the elder in that family. The best you do is enjoy your children and enjoy your grandchildren. Because grandchildren, we just enjoy them. You will see grandpa and grandma doing all they may be condescending things, but they are joyful things. They will jump on your back. You will go to the floor with them because they are your grandchildren. You don't do that with your children, isn't it? And the children will more counsel, guide, walk alongside them, and sit at table and enjoy a meal. But you need social networks that involve thinking of your mind, where you can reason together, where you can speak into the real things that concern your age and time, that speak into the context in which you are living. And that has to be intentional, dear friends. You cannot afford to be a loner. We must create networks of people who we call our friends. We can call one another for a cup of tea. My husband knows that sometimes I tell him, now, today I'm going out for a girls' chat. A girls' chat. That is women of my age. Maybe some a little older, maybe a few a little younger. But we're just going to have conversations about us. And he knows the pressure I normally put on him. I need you also to be with yours. Even when you bring them alongside, I shall cook, I shall cater for them. Because I need you to engage with your kind. I need you to relate and share with each other. And of course, those that are now couples. And of course, not forgetting that sometimes as we age, some of us, our spouses will be called home earlier than us. Even when that happens, we still need the networks that will keep now you as a widow or a widower connected and having places of connectivity. The third thing is involvement of the young generation in production and income generating activities, both your own and those of the community. At time, as you begin to run, of course at retirement you run into your activities, you may find that they are excessively involving and they are pressurizing you too much. And you may need again to come and bring the younger people to run with it. And yours is to counsel, to advise, and to give the oversight eye. In any case, like we do run a prayer retreat and conference center. If you look at the workers that come into that center, they are not our age. Majority of them are younger people. When you talk of a farm and you are dealing with farm produce, probably you're running with a cash crop or you are running an industry. If you look at the workforce that you shall bring on board, they are young people. There has to be willingness in yourself to accept their culture of work and their mindset about work and about people is not the same with yours. And you have to understand where they are coming from and acknowledge where you came from, because that is usually a tension area that causes a lot of psychological torture in the older people when we are managing our retirement. We feel like our workers are not doing it our way. The truth is, they cannot do it your way, but they can follow the skills and the patterns of time, and the productivity should be there as an end result, but they may not necessarily follow the pattern you followed because of where we are coming from and where they are coming from. Majority of them today will be technical staff, and everything is in the soft gadget. You want to see the hand paper like I am carrying with me today, and that is not their way. That is our way. You are looking for records because we have always been used to touching the hand paper. But they are telling you, sir, it is all recorded. And you are asking, where is it? You want to see it in print. Those are some of the tensions we are going to be ready and must be ready to deal with. For us to be at ease psychologically, to be calm, and to be people who are not pushing ourselves to the grave by unnecessary building of blood pressure, because we want all things to fit into our pattern. Investing in the young people is the best way to improve the lives of future generations of older people. Actually, the more you invest in the young, the more you improve your old life also. And that is a reality. Then we must bequeath these young people with the roots and the wings to fly, so that they should be given space to multiply. Clarify the perimeters of growth that you are anticipating out of them, so that they are not stagnating and keeping things at par. We must be there to sit with them and tell them our expectations, so that we give them the capacity of the goodwill, and at the same time empower them with the skills and the opportunity that is required. It will be also very critical that we aim at mechanization of the production that we are running with. We were sharing with one of the bishops this week. I was in Kisumu for Anglican Development Services Symposium, and we were talking about retirement, and we were making fun, saying that the minute yours comes, we shall bring for you a wheelbarrow. And then he kept saying, I'll be very offended. And we told him, that's because you're putting a context into it. The reality is, if you have a farm, if you have a compound, you literally need a wheelbarrow. And I was trying to argue with him and say, I don't mind if you bring me a wheelbarrow. I have enough workmen who need to be facilitated with wheelbarrows. No, but that is only for cleaning the leaves in the compound and picking a few fruits from some of the trees. But if I need proper mechanization and I want increase of production in my farm, I need to mechanize, to put another level that I should not farm. I keep telling my husband like this, we cannot farm the way our dad farmed. If we are talking of having a farm, we must have water to irrigate. We must have an advanced, certain implements and tools of an advanced level that will enable the production out of that farm to be of a higher yield. So the farm runs itself and makes surplus. Because we are not farming for eating, for sustenance. Really, I know, literally now we live in an empty nest. The little space I do for myself is excess in terms of the food production. My children cannot take it all. So when I do now a bigger farm like I do, it can't be for the family intake. It has to be for business, and that needs mechanization. So at retirement, if we want to be comfortable, we must think about mechanization. How do we improve the process of farming? The next point is to do with dialogue. We must dialogue about how to live harmoniously, first in our living space, two, in our working space. What do I mean here? Let's facelift our residential retirement home to be so comforting for each of us that if I am not there for a week, my husband can access food without difficulties. It is not the way it was when the children were there. It should be set in such a way everything is accessible and even visible. Not just accessible, but visible. He should not spend 30 minutes looking for Weetabix. That's just an example. Because it's in the house, but it's not accessible. And he needs to fix himself some serious before he leaves for the next stage of assignment that he wants to carry with himself. It should be accessible, it should be visible. So we need to live in a space that is not congested. Make life easy for ourselves, as well as the movements that we are making. Life should flow in fellowship, where there is clear sight, there is clear touch, access to voices that we need. We must analyze what we have for seamless integration. Analyze, and I think that is where some mentioned to us, even at retirement, some things may have looked, they were okay, but we may need to release some when we get there. Because they are not enabling, they are as it were disenabling. Because we come into retirement with a lot of privileges, with a lot of knowledge, with great wisdom, with experiences, maybe even wealth, possibly reduced burdens. We even come to retirement with established names. Reverend Canon Doctor. Titles. The Honorable, His Excellency. All those, and you introduced us here with some. We get into retirement with those titles. Now, surely retirement house, does it need those titles? Even our own children, when we are networking with them, do they need those titles? Be aware, and this is also very sobering, psychologically. Be aware. Your available good counsel and mentorship might be ignored, even by your own children. Your own kindred. Because when you sit with your brothers and your sisters, they are addressing their brother. They are not addressing Daktari. You may be necessary once in a while where that title will be invoked. Especially when they are asking, now you used to work in that corporation, in that firm, in that enterprise, can't you get jobs for our children? I think that is mostly the one which is invoked most. Even when you go to the community fellowship, they are wondering, why haven't you gotten everybody in the community employed? Yet you are so senior wherever you used to be. It's important that you also remind yourself some of your own personal dreams and goals could become nightmares. You had dreams, you had goals, but by the time you are exiting, because age comes gradually, and pop, without realizing it, miaka imeisha, sindio? So once you are there, you have to speak to yourself. And I want to emphasize this. We must speak to ourselves. And that is why fellowship for ourselves is very important. That, you know what, I had this dream, but I thank heavens, probably my children will run with it. Or somebody in the community might pick it. And I have discovered some people in retirement, when you get to a function and they see somebody who seems to be involved in something real, they will quickly come and empty all their dream to you. And they will tell you, Madam, I hope you can run with this. You have the avenue now. You have the opportunity to speak it to somebody. I pray that you do something about it. Because there are dreams, there are goals that now they do not have the opportunity to actualize. Tell yourself it is okay. And be at peace with yourself. Don't agonize. Don't beat yourself hard. Then we must also avoid putting excessive financial pressure on ourselves or on the children, so that we do not become burdensome to ourselves or to others. by employing cost containment measures and being modest. We must learn to be modest. It is not at retirement that we should be showcasing that we still have the highest brand of the vehicle in the market. After all, where are you going to be going with it? Just for parking in your parking lot. And when you go with it to church Sunday service, you'll be expected to bear the whole fundraising cost of the day, the budget. After all, you are showing us you are able. So we will all be waiting for you to bail us out. I am not saying we don't drive the best car. I am not saying we don't put on the best outfit that we can, but also do it with moderation. Because realistically, the cost-cutting measures are important, are prudent, and scripturally, the Bible says the wise man leaves inheritance for their children's children. So you are not working to exhaust what you have in your hands. You are working and living that you can leave inheritance for your heritage. So the heritage can be even lifted up to another level which you never found yourself in. We must cherish mundane chores and also comply with all tax remittances. If you have been blessed with assets that require taxes to be paid, we need to seek the knowledge, because if we don't, it is terrible at 70 having the taxman coming to attach your property, harassing you, and you being called from one meeting to another and threatening letters that become heartbreaking. So we must have the discipline to do what we should do and do it in an orderly way. We must also have a tradition to periodically or annually give thanks to God. We are men and women of faith. Friends, 1 Chronicles 16, 34 and 35 teaches us the importance of giving thanks. That is a momentous moment to gather your family, to gather your kindreds, your friends, and in the neighborhood and far, so that you can share a meal together after you have gone to the church and given thanks to God, that he has given me the gift of life. And friends, don't also be ashamed about your age. Speak about it. Speak about it. My beloved father-in-law, my husband's father, just went to be with the Lord 3 months ago at 101 and a half. And let me tell you the truth, he was in charge of himself to the last breath of his life, apart from the last 3 or 4 days when he was in hospital and needed to be taken care of. But even the other earlier days of that last 2 months, when he was he was unwell and then he became more critically unwell, even at the hospital bed, he had ministry for each one of us. He took care of himself. When we gathered after his death, the home that he was managing with all that you can think of, cash crops, farms well taken care of, and workers, became a farmhouse. That day, that night, it was a metamorphosis, where every child, as we came in, we were all visitors. And though we were leaving home at around 3 a.m., we even didn't know what to do with the workers. But he was in charge of his life. Everything was orderly. We must run. And he taught us to give thanks annually. And every time he had a blessing of one nature or the other, he has gone for a journey, he will give thanks. Like he traveled at 98, I think, to Rwanda by bus to see where the revival movement started. He was a revival brother. He was a lay leader and evangelist, retired. and God just gave him the gift of life. It is possible. Then let's live by faith. Let's learn to live by faith. No money, status, or anything in the world can ensure or give life assurance but God. God is upstream, and he determines the direction life takes downstream. Sisi tuko downstream, si ndio? Tukiinua macho tunasema, tunainua mikono yetu, tunaangalia na macho yetu, msaada wetu watoka wapi? Where does our help come from? He's upstream, we are downstream. He determines the direction of life. So we need inner peace in ourselves, in our communion with him. When we are getting older, friends, God is unchanging. Participate in Holy Communion. I know after the 58 who are told to stay at home, some of us have stayed at home permanently. But I want to challenge you, if you have stayed for a year plus and you have not received Holy Communion, come for Holy Communion. It is an assurance of the continuity of eternal life in Christ Jesus. And it's a joy for you to remind yourself that journey of life. Even if you will be requesting the pastoral team to do a special Holy Communion for the aged, let it be done. But don't stay away from Holy Communion. Don't also stay away from the study of God's word in fellowship with others, because that will keep you on course and will keep your heart at harmony with yourself, with God, and at peace with others. Let's also look for opportunities for fellowship with each other, because that's important. As you face ideological differences, varied focus areas because of the generations around us, clashing practical ways of doing things, differing mindsets, and at times excessive subjectivity and enmeshed boundaries. For the young people, their boundaries are zigzag sometimes. Very zigzag. But for you, you know even how you greet, you know the distance you stand, isn't it? But for them, sometimes they don't know, they are throwing their hands on everybody. They don't know there should be boundaries on how you handle yourself. But as we watch these things, make deliberate resolve to let go and take on new purpose and adaptations, even amidst disappointments, so that in the midst of your mixed tears and joy, because sometimes they'll be mixed, you'll watch certain things and tears will just run down your face. It's okay. Other times you are joyful, but they are not seeing why you are joyful. And you are thankful. Wavering emotions, be at peace with the Lord. And I want to sum it this way. As I invite my husband to come and make the final comments. There are 5 stages, but I will not be speaking into details about them. 5 stages into retirement management. There is the pre-retirement, which Brother Sam handled very well. Those 25, 5, 15 years before actual retirement is when you image and gain an awareness of what you are expecting, what you're going to become, and you become proactive in your planning. You make lifestyle decisions, you anticipate, and you follow the path. Then there is the step into the full retirement stage 2, when you get in there and there is liberation. You are excited. Of course, farewells have been done for us. And it's an honeymoon stage of 1 to 2 years. Feeling excited that workload has been off-roaded us. Relief and freedom from stresses of day-to-day working life. You begin to reconnect with family and friends, with spouse, and you spend more time on your hobbies, traveling, and sometimes you start to get engaged on your hand-on-hand on your businesses, while others take it as an easy life because their energy has been drained over the years. That is only 1 to 2 years. Then stage 3, you come to what we call this enchantment. You feel a sense of disappointment and disillusionment. In comes that feel like something is missing in my life. You begin to experience boredom, loneliness, and feeling somewhat useless. The choice you made in number 1 and how you dealt with number 2 become very critical at this stage, because it is a closure from the life of work that now is beginning to fully set in. So it's no more to handle it, but handle it with care so that you don't break yourself. 4th stage is reorientation of yourself, getting to do something that gives a sense of meaningfulness, pursuing a passion, and volunteering and getting into some fun activities. This then now becomes a building into your routine of life. You have to be intentional, my friend. You have to look for accompaniment. Could be your spouse, could be other teams of people. And lastly is reconciliation and stability. 15 or more years after official retirement, you have reconciled with yourself. You become stable. You begin to be content and hopeful. You are now settling into a fun and rewarding lifestyle, doing things that are fulfilling. You are not torn in between what I've seen sometimes in our working environment. Somebody has retired, but they keep coming for tea. And every activity we have in the office, they know about it. And so they somehow step in around. You know, it's like they still want to connect. They are asking questions. Some of them have refused to leave, to exit the work WhatsApp groups. And they are following that trait. You know, you are in a state of disillusionment. You think you'll be wrong, but truly you don't. The one you should be most active with is for those who have exited like yourself. So that is what you are following, because the rest can tear emotions in your heart. So you need to be careful how you deal with that. Now you are settled into a fun, rewarding life. You are relaxed, and you are able to tell others. May God help us as we navigate these steps of life, because it's important. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Round of applause to Canon Reverend Bogo. Really grateful for that. Karibu, engineer.
Oh, it's still morning. Good morning. And praise the Lord. Amen. Yes, it's yesterday as we were talking with her, it's one question I asked her. Because initially I didn't think it would be physical. I thought it would be on Zoom. I asked her, by the way, I told her is we later who will be in it will not be the retired people, it will be the young people. It's too close. Because I told her, if it is only retired people, then they will be saying, I wish I did this. Like what Sam said, a lot of it. I wish I did, I wish I did. I told her, I wish we would have people who have not retired. Those are the best people to talk to at this time, because we are telling them where we failed. We don't want them to fail. Otherwise, thank you for this opportunity to even be able to come and talk about one or two things. And at home, of course, as you can see, she has even written books, so she is actually the one who talks a lot. Me, I just fill in the few gaps. As we talked, we decided that we talk about, I talk about a balanced wheel of life. And I'm sure a balanced wheel of life, I'm sure at retirement or even before retirement, what we want is everybody want to have peace of heart, peace of mind, peace of spirit, and live joyfully. If somebody can live joyfully that way, of course, money will be required, this and the other things will be required, then that's all you require. And if you can live like that, even at retirement, that is the best thing. So, having a balanced wheel of life, it's important to know that this book, she asked me, she has heard me talk about it some other places. So she told me, that topic you normally teach about balanced view of life, that can make a good chapter in my book. And if you, in case you have bought this book, chapter 5, you find it is actually balanced wheel of life, which has got 6 elements. In case you might have learned about wheel of life somewhere else, there are many wheels of life. Some of them came from the Eastern religion. This is not Eastern religion. This is just about how you can balance your life in all aspects of life. And it is important to know that if your life is not balanced, then that wheel of life, why are we talking about a wheel? Because a wheel is something which rotates. Your cars have got a wheel. And if that wheel, one wheel hasn't got a puncture, you are sure the car will not move well. In fact, you'll not be able to move when one wheel hasn't got a puncture. So you require your wheels to be balanced for the car to move smoothly. And our life is just like that. And even when Jesus was here, he was teaching, giving examples, life examples. So balanced view of life means your life should be able to go smoothly, rotating smoothly, rotating smoothly, rotating smoothly. When in this book you will find page 108, I have talked about a practical wheel of life. You may not be able to see it from where you are. A practical wheel of life with the percentages. For instance, here, this practical wheel of life is written here. Spiritual health is at 80%, because of what you are doing with your spiritual health. Emotional health is at 70%, and the physical health is at 60%, and the family and the community relationships is at 90%, and the education and vocational knowledge acquisition is at 60%, and the material and financial stewardship are at 80%, and the wheel looks like that. And anybody who can see this wheel cannot rotate. This wheel cannot rotate. That's why we are talking about a balanced wheel of life. So that in all those facets, I've mentioned those 6 facets, for us to know that those 6 facets are very key and they need to be worked on. Not only at retirement, but even during your normal daily life. They need to be worked on for you to have a balanced view of life. Because if we start with the spiritual, all of us and everybody else has got a need to relate with God. Your spirit, God breathed into what he formed, his own spirit. And therefore, our relationship with God is important. And therefore, the first thing is to make sure that you are related with God. That way, you'll be able to be at peace spiritually. You'll be at peace spiritually. The second one, if you go to emotional or your soul, the soul is the will. What controls other things is very important, and it needs to be balanced. You need to balance it. We are talking about these 6 facets. If they can be, if you are at 80%, let them all be at 80%. If they're at 90%, let them all be at 90%. If they are at 100%, let them be all at 100%. But if you have one at 40% and another one at 80%, your wheel will not balance. You will not be emotionally stable. That's what we are talking about, emotional. Then from there, you go to the physical. By the way, I will pick 3 of them and I'll concentrate more on them. I'm just mentioning them. Physical health is how your body is, how you take care of your body. We will talk slightly more about that one. And then from there is your relationships, your family relationships, and the community relationships, which of course starts internally with your spouse, your children, and your parents as well, if they are there. How you relate with them is key, because you not be able to live in having peace of heart and peace of mind, peace of your spirit, if you are not relating well with your spouse, if you are not relating well with your children. And the 5th one is education and vocation and the career. You need to be active in all this. If it's education, we shall talk more about this one. You need to keep your mind engaged, and you need to be doing something at retirement, and even when you are not retired, you need to be busy doing something. And then the sixth one is your material and financial stewardship. And of course, Samuel talked a lot quite about that, about investment. That's material and financial requirement. Now, if those are the six facets of or elements of the wheel of life I've talked about in chapter 5 of this book, which was sustained as a spiritual leader. By the way, it was, which year are we? In January 13th. On January 13th is when it was launched in the main hall there by Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i, together with His Grace the Archbishop. They are the ones who launched this book on January 13th. There were very many people in that hall. Of course, we could not be as many because of COVID, but it was done on that. And so it's a very key book. Now, having mentioned that balanced wheel of life, let me talk about three key facets that are very key, but 6 of them, all of them need to be balanced. If they are not balanced, I say, as I've said before, your wheel will not rotate. And if your wheel is not rotating, you find that you are emotionally, there are problems. And you might ask yourself now, why do some people commit suicide? Or why do people, do whatever they do? It's because they are not balanced. There's something which is not balancing in their life. But if they are balanced on all the 6 facets, then they will live peaceful and a smooth life. The previous page is a perfect circle. If you can see a perfect circle there, it means each one of those 6 elements, they are all balanced. And this one now, you go through life smoothly. It will be rotating, your wheel of life will be rotating. By the moment now, you see some of them are high, others are low, because of one thing or the other. Then it will have kinks like this other one which is there, which is not balanced, the one I read to you, and the wheel will not rotate, and then you will not live peacefully. Emotionally, you have problems and you have challenges in life. So now, the 3 elements that I wanted to talk about more about is one of them. Is we can start with keeping your mind active. I'm going to talk about them. Keeping your mind active. At retirement, of course, you need to keep your mind active. When somebody is at work, the mind has to be active because you are presenting papers, you are doing this, you are being challenged by your colleagues and your peers, you are being challenged. So you have to prepare yourself and be active in whatever you are doing. But when you retire, you might say now it's a time to relax. I'll talk more about that one later towards the end. Again, it is the third item that I'll talk about. But keeping your mind active is very key. Because if you don't keep your mind active, it will go to sleep. And if you're about to go to sleep, let me tell you, it's called dementia. You can be sure you are attracting dementia before its time. Because you have relaxed your mind, you are not exercising your mind. Keeping your mind active, you can do many things. There are many things to keep your mind active. The first one, and very important and noble one, is your daily devotions. You remember there are 6 elements. There's even a spiritual one, connecting with the God on a daily basis. Your daily devotion. And it's always good to have a certain devotion book that you are reading. And this time, as it says, because now you are retired, you can actually be able to do a daily Bible study with yourself because it normally gives you some extra verses you can read. Then you are keeping your mind busy by reading the Word of God and relating with God. And even some things you do not have time to read. Some history books, you need some documentary books that you do not have time to read. You can now say what you'll be reading. And also keeping your mind active, also you're professional. If you are professional, like you're an accountant, you are whatever you are, you will also need to keep on reading your professional books. You need to be active in those areas. As my wife talked about, and it was mentioned, having worked for 35 years in engineering, then 8 years I worked as the vicar of St. Paul's in Kiambu. And now having returned last year, somehow last year I was made the chair of the engineers of my area of mechanical engineering on interviewing engineers. If I had stopped reading engineering when I went to ministering, for the last 8 years I've been ministering, And I was with my brother here in St. Francis for 10 years. From 2003 was on ordained to 2012 when I left there to go now to be the vicar on the other side. If I had stopped reading engineering books, I would not have connected with the engineering institution to even be made a chairman of the mechanical engineers. I'm a mechanical engineer myself. So you need to, even at retirement, you need to be active on career, on history books, on documentaries, and especially connecting with God. So that's very important to keep your mind active. And, I would like to say even, there's one challenge. Keeping your mind active, there's one retired bishop and his wife. They are in the 90s now, I think. They are in the 90s now. And if you go wherever they are known for reciting Bible verses. They recite a whole chapter, himself and his wife. One takes up to verse 10, the other one takes from verse 11 to, and that really keeps that bishop. I can mention him as Bishop Mahiaine and his wife. Go in wherever they are, they'll always be told to recite something. So they keep their mind. So it's important to that you keep your mind active. That's very important. That's very key. Keeping your mind active. Second point is keeping your body exercised. Keeping your body exercised is very, very important. There was a WhatsApp going on around, I think, in the last 1 week, which was talking about the power of the legs. That your legs are very important because they carry the whole weight of the body. That means one very simple way of exercising, you don't have to go to the gym where, of course, you spend money. Of course, if you can afford and you're a member of a gym club somewhere, why not? But walking is good enough, and it has talked a lot about walking. If you can make it, a routine of walking 2 kilometers per day, sometimes walk 4 kilometers, that will make sure that your legs are okay. And it was actually saying if you stay in for 2 weeks without walking, you look like somebody who has been sick for so many years. So you need to keep your body exercised. Now, there are many ways of keeping your body exercised, especially at retirement. And we have a good example in our family that every December, we would give our house help leave. So in that December, we would have a routine, a duty of who goes to the kitchen, including myself, everybody, So you keep yourself busy. So keeping yourself busy at retirement, and especially that month when you give your house help leave, why should you don't even go into the kitchen and help your wife? You are cooking together, you are enjoying together, you are fellowshipping together, and many other things. So you need to keep your body exercised, doing something. Sometimes at home, doing some, she talked about mundane chores. Some things, even the cleanliness around there, I talked about the wheelbarrow, correcting rubbish and things like that. You just need to keep your body busy. When there is nobody else at home, it's just you and your wife. And even when you are playing about with your grandchildren, you need to keep your body exercised, and it's very important so that your body has to be, the body is the temple that actually carries the rest of it. It carries your spirit, carries your everything else. That body has to be taken care of. You are taking care of that vessel so that you are active. Then the other one is the final one is, at retirement, somebody might be thinking that when I retire now, it will be time to relax, like she mentioned that you have worked for all those years. Like me, I can tell myself, I've actually worked for 43 years. It is time for me to relax. She talked about going for a holiday. By the way, if it was not Corona, I was going to arrange myself that after I retire, I take a holiday somewhere in America or somewhere else. But at this time of Corona, who wanted to leave their own country? I was telling her the other day that we still have visas up to next year for America. Are we going to go? Are we not going to go? We are not sure where we are going to go. By the way, connecting, she talked about something which I would like to mention. With your spouse is very key. If you want to live in peace, even peace at retirement, make sure that you are connected with your spouse throughout, even during your youth. For us, we connect, and every year we take a holiday. The two of us, when we don't want our children, just the two of us, just to make sure that we are reconnecting with our own self. So it's very important Now, I'm talking about the third point whereby there is no time for complete rest. There is no time for complete rest. That when you retire, you want to go complete rest. No, there isn't any time like that. You read it in Luke chapter 12, verses 19. Actually, Luke chapter 12, verses 16 to 21. We are supposed to be active at all time in our life. There's no time for total complete rest, doing nothing. Luke is talking about the farmer whose produce was so much that he didn't know what to do. He said, I'm going to expand my barns and put my food in my barns, and I'll be eating and doing nothing, and I'll just be making merry and doing nothing. He was told by God, you fool. Today your soul will be required of you, and who will eat all that money? Therefore, as far as God is concerned, there is no time he is expecting us to be doing nothing. At retirement, even up to the time when he calls you home. And I always remember some 10 years, was it 10 years ago? Slightly more than about 10 years ago. Yeah, somewhere around there. There is a canon clergyman from our home called Canon Chande. And I had met him, and he was told me now that preaching is becoming digital. Me, I'm going to computer school. He was maybe towards the 80s. Me, I'm going to computer school because I also want to be preaching with the computer. Yeah, you hear what is Canon Chande? He was telling me at 80-something, I don't know what age he was, because it was actually a year. Then the following year, we were actually here. We were having his bereavement here. The following year, the Lord took him home. I just wanted to say that we are supposed to be active until the last day. And my wife mentioned about my dad. Let me tell you, we have workers there. I was paying for them, but he's the one who was managing them at 1 or 1.5. That means we are supposed to be active throughout. There is no time of saying that, I need to relax. There's no time like that. We are supposed to be busy, keeping ourselves busy. That means, as I conclude, engaging all our 6 elements of the wheel of life throughout our life and making sure that they are balanced, all of them. Whatever you see is going down a bit, if you think your physical exercise is not good, it's not doing well, you need to beef up on that one. If you think your relationships with your community, with your children, with your parents is not doing well, you need to beef up that one to make sure that, all the 6 elements are actually balanced, because God desires us to be busy up to the last day. There is no time of relaxing, and that we are not doing anything else. So that is very important at retirement, because we are talking about managing retirement psychologically and socioeconomically. We are supposed to be busy at all times. There's no time. Of course, we don't do anything in excess. We do everything in moderation, but make sure that we have, but we have a balanced, lifestyle in all ways of what we are doing, so that, we are happy, we are having peace of mind. We can be able, at this age, we are consultants, we'll be able to impact the same thing. And let me tell you, our children are learning a lot from us. And of course, we instilling whatever can be able to instill to our own grandchildren when they come to us. It is very important. That way, then we shall have that balanced life in all ways. And as I conclude, of course, when we talk about this, the family, that wheel of life, we are talking about the family and the community networks, which I said start with your spouse, your children, and your parents, and then to the community. And make sure, of course, you are, balanced somewhere and doing something, and whatever you see is not doing very well, raise it up so that you live a balanced life. That way you have peace of heart, peace of mind, peace of the soul, peace of the spirit, keeping your body well, serving the Lord well, and I tell you, you will go on and on and on and on, and up to a point like where my father was at 101. He was still remembering everything he did in the 1930s. Actually, the only thing I miss from him is that in March, because March I went and stayed over a whole month. I was actually chased on 26th of March when Uhuru declared another curfew again, because I started writing his life history. We were sitting with him, and he was remembering things of 1930s, that he did when he was in his 20s and all that. He was remembering all those things, and it was very good history, which, of course, after we came back, Uhuru closed over. Then in June, he got sick, and then in July, he went home. So that's the only thing I missed, that I was not able to complete the life history I was writing in March, because I started writing that history. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say. Let us live peaceful life by living a balanced life of all the 6 elements. By this book, you find chapter 5. I'm the one who have written that chapter 5 in this book, and it will describe more about living a balanced life. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Engineer, for that good summary, and also bringing out the wheel of life, which ideally appears to be a summary of everything that Canon Mbogo has actually shared with us. I'm also really grateful. I think I've picked quite a number of nuggets, and thank you. We are many of us who are not retired here. If you look around, very good audience to you. So at this point, if you have any questions, I think it would be a good time to pose them to either Canon or Engineer. You get to have those answered. And as you get prepared with your questions, I do have 2 questions here. And the first one is to you, Canon. Earlier on, some mentioned that there are people who decide to retire early. And retiring early, I mean, in their 30s, in their 40s, not really in their 50s or 60s or much later. The question is, how would they manage retirement from that very point? What kind of perspective should they look at as they're preparing for retirement in those ages? Or even those who are intending to retire early in their lives and they haven't really gotten to do that. And then on the other question, this to you, Engineer. Supposedly somebody gets to retire and they look at the wheel of life and they're surprised. It's very off. It almost looks like it's missing some struts, It can't really drive smoothly. And that's what they have at 65. What next? So maybe you could answer those 2 as the audience also give their other questions.
Yes, let me say something small about her question, then she will finalize it. At my place of work, when I was working, there was this one manager who said, of course, they do the circle. Somebody asked about the circle, but the way circles are very powerful and very important. And ours is that one, some said, if it is well managed. I was working with the Kengen. So ours is that one, is a steamer circle. There's this one manager who said, he was a super saver. There were those who were super saver. Those who couldn't get even a 10 million loan those days, when others could only get 1 or 2 million. He was a super saver. He saw here and said, I'm arranging myself. He was putting all his saving there. Okay, just like Sam said, that whatever his pension you get, you'll be getting better from a circle through a saving. So he was a super saver. And therefore, if somebody, I just thought I could mention that, he surprised us. He was a manager. That's what he was doing. So he would actually be getting pension and another pension on which he has saved by himself in the circle. So if somebody he started working at 25 and then could have a mentor, could have a fellowship with somebody like that, a manager like that, how he did, actually he managed it. Somehow, he managed even to become the MD there later on, before even he retired. If somebody can say, if he can start at 25 and you are super saving by 35, you are already having your own, money that you have saved so well, then I think you can retire even at 35 because you have managed, because that money will be working for you. And that time you'll be able to work for very many other things. I just wanted to mention that, and then Canon can answer.
Thank you. I think one of the key things we need to acknowledge is that it's not everybody who gets a bride. And yet they make it in life. So what is clearly important is that one must have a pursuit. What are you pursuing in life? What is your passion? What is your purpose in life? And your purpose could be such that you want to be a businessman or a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. And if that is your target and your focus, then the willpower to do it will carry you along. And what will be key and important is that the focus should be very clearly articulated, the vision and the goal that you're running with, and stay at it so that you don't lose your course, so that you are awesome. And there are places to draw funds from anyway, because we can draw funds from, first you can belong still to a circle. So there are circles for people who are not necessarily now employed that are available. And even for the employed ones, they have opened them up, so long as there is a clarity of how you're bringing your funds consistently. Then we have also chamas. I think that was not even mentioned by some, but particularly for women. Chamas are very enabling. They are supportive regiments for us to manage a financial support, systems that enable people to run, small-scale businesses. So that one can plug into, not forgetting also the government avails to us the youth fund. And if one has gotten into an enterprise, into a business, start of one nature or the other, you still can draw funds from the youth fund, from the women fund. They are available. And it's a question of connecting yourself with a team or as an individual with the banks that are managing, those funds on our behalf. But really, the key important thing is the word discipline. Discipline has to be the word that has to run with all of us consistently, and that consistency as well, so that then money that is gotten is not used with lavish living and activities that are destructive. First to the savings of the money itself, but also to the health of the person by not having the mental accuracy that should be kept. So it's possible, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, let me answer the second question about the balanced wheel of life. If at 60 or 65 you find that your wheel is so off guard that it's not rotating, what do you do? I would like to say that God is a God of a second chance. As long as you have got breath, you can pick up the broken pieces at any time. And if you read in this book, I've actually said the first time I was taken to a training to evaluate my wheel of life, I found mine could not rotate because I did not have anything to do. I did not have anything that I was doing about my physical health. Other things, my family were okay. Other things were okay. Things were okay. But my physical health, I was very poor. So it came to about 30%, and of course you can be sure that the wheel, if the others are all at around 70, 80, and one is 30, it will not rotate. You can pick it up at any time. And as long as you got breath, God is a God of a second chance. You just need to pick those elements, see the areas where you have not worked on. Some of them can be very, just now you asked that question, I said, wow. Some of them can be very technical because if you lost your wife those days when you were working, and now you are starting afresh again at retirement, you've not been friends, you have to work extra hard